Hey there, and welcome to today's explainer of the devotional. Okay, I am so incredibly pumped you're here right now because today we're looking at something that honestly reads exactly like a top secret briefing for a highly classified mission. If you're around 10 years old and you've ever stopped to wonder, what your actual purpose is when you head out the door to school or the playground or just hanging around your neighborhood, well, you are 100% in the right place. We're going to decode this devotional together, and by the end, you'll know exactly how to pull off what we're calling Operation Divine Light.
So let me ask you a question. Have you ever been asked to represent your school, or maybe a sports team? Like maybe you got picked to be the team captain, or you had to wear your school uniform to some special event in town. Remember how that felt? It's a pretty huge responsibility, right? Being chosen to stand in for a whole group of people. I mean, people are literally looking at you, and they're judging the whole team or the entire school based totally on how you act. Well, according to our devotional today, you've actually been chosen for a representation role that is way, way bigger than any sports team.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've got our starting point right here, straight from the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 10. And it says this, "Ye are my witnesses, saith the Lord, and my servant whom I have chosen." I mean, wow, just think about what that actually means. Headquarters, and by that I mean God himself, has specifically handpicked you for this exact job. You aren't just wandering around your school or your neighborhood by accident. God literally says, "I have chosen you." You are on a mission to be his witness.
Which brings us to what it actually means to be a witness or a representative. An ambassador is just a person who is chosen to act and speak for someone else. Our devotional explains that when you're out in the wild, hanging around friends, classmates, or teammates who maybe don't believe in God, your character, your actions, even your everyday words are acting as an official representative of Jesus Christ. Basically, if someone wants to know what Jesus is like, they're looking straight at you to find out. No pressure, right?
All right, moving on to mission protocol, hanging out with unbelievers.
So now that we know who we are, we got to figure out how we actually handle ourselves when we're hanging out with kids who don't believe. Because let's face it, you can't just hide out in your room all day. You got to go to school, you got to play at the park, and you are absolutely going to be out in the field surrounded by kids who might not know Jesus yet. Well, our devotional has some very specific rules for this part of the mission. It says that if believers associate with unbelievers, it should be for the purpose of winning them to Christ. That is the ultimate goal. We aren't just hanging out with kids who don't believe so we can blend into the crowd or, act like everybody else just to look cool. No, we associate with them for a very specific, active purpose, to win them over to his service. You're an undercover ambassador bringing light, not some chameleon just trying to match the background.
Next up, hazard warning, avoiding cheap top.
Look, every mission has its dangers, right? And our devotional points out a major, major temptation you really need to watch out for when you're out there trying to be a good friend. And actually, it has everything to do with the words that come out of your mouth. Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast between the hazard and our goal. On one side, the devotional completely warns us against cheap talk. Light words, trifling conversation, just laughing at bad speeches or mean jokes. But on the flip side, we have what the Holy Spirit is actively trying to build in us. Noble aspirations, a clear perception of truth and true humility. When the Holy Spirit moves in our hearts, we're supposed to cooperate with that molding influence, actively choosing noble thoughts over the cheap, silly, or mean conversations. And the devotional gets incredibly clear about this right here. It warns that you are absolutely not to lower yourself to the same level as unbelievers by laughing at those same things or making those same cheap speeches. And why is that? Well, because if you join in on the mean jokes, the bad language, or the disrespectful behavior, the devotional says you literally make yourself one with the sinner. And honestly, if you do that, you've completely blown your cover as an ambassador. You stop looking like Jesus and start looking, well, exactly like the world. The consequences of blowing your cover like that are actually super serious. The devotional specifically warns that acting this way makes you a stumbling block in the way of sinners. Just picture that for a second. Imagine literally placing a giant rock right in front of someone who is trying to walk toward Jesus. When you claim to be a Christian, but you join in on that cheap talk and bad behavior, you're actually tripping your friends up instead of leading them to him. You're blocking their path. Okay, let's look at returning to HQ, recharging through prayer. So the big question is, how do we prevent that, right? How do we stay strong and not get infected by those bad influences when we're out in the field all day? Simple. We have to return to HQ. We need to recharge through prayer because you can't just pour out all your energy trying to be a good example without plugging back in to recharge your own battery. Our devotional source actually breaks this down into a brilliant 3-step action plan. Step 1, be a good example while you're with your friends. Step 2, avoid that cheap talk we just talked about. And step 3, this is crucial. Having fulfilled your mission for the day, withdraw to pray. You step back, you get quiet, and you report back to headquarters. And the devotional uses just such beautiful language here. It says to withdraw into a pure and holy atmosphere, to draw near to God. And what exactly do you do when you get there? You send up earnest petitions in behalf of your friends and associates. That's just a fancy way of saying you pray super hard for those friends who don't know Jesus yet. You pray for them because, as the text reminds us, Christ is fully able to save them completely, unto the uttermost.
So the crucial point is captured perfectly in this incredibly simple equation. Connection with God equals spiritual strength to withstand wrong influences. The devotional tells us that getting acquainted with God is actually the absolute privilege of the Christian. When you do that, your life is hidden with Christ. That connection, that's your power source. It makes you so strong spiritually that the society of unbelievers literally won't harm you, and you'll be able to withstand any negative peer pressure they try to throw your way.
Which brings us to the final objective, staying in the light. All right, so we've talked about how to act, what to avoid, and how to recharge. Now let's look at the final objective of your mission as a 10-year-old ambassador for God. I really want to read this powerful quote straight from the end of our devotional. Be sure to place yourself in the channel of light. I mean, just imagine a huge, bright spotlight shining straight down from heaven. Praying, avoiding that cheap talk, and actively cooperating with the Holy Spirit, those are the exact steps you take to step right into that channel of light. It keeps you plugged in, so you're shining bright for literally everyone around you to see.
And this brilliantly illustrates the final piece of the puzzle. The very last line of our devotional says we need to be a practical follower of Him who went about doing good. See, your mission isn't just defensive. It isn't just about avoiding bad words or, hiding from bad influences. It is deeply, wonderfully active. You're stepping out into your school, your sports team, your neighborhood, and you're practically following Jesus' example by actively doing good every single day. So I'm going to leave you with a really exciting challenge just for you. Who can you be a channel of light for tomorrow? Think about your classroom for a second. Think about recess. Is there someone there who really needs to see the love of Jesus? Well, you've got your briefing, you know your mission protocols, and you know exactly how to connect to headquarters for strength. Get ready, Ambassador. Operation Divine Light starts tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, good luck on your mission.